Yesterday, actually, I was reading this post on Facebook, and it was this guy who was basically criticizing this moto vlogger. And so it was this guy criticizing a moto. The first guy might have been a moto vlogger too. I don't know. But it was one guy criticizing another guy, and by criticizing, doing so in a very tactful way, in a very constructive way. It was not, inflammatory, or the guy wasn't being a dick or anything like that. He was just trying to give the guy some advice. He was telling him, he was like, "Hey man, I watched some of your videos, and I noticed how you ride, and you tend to ride in the center of the lane." And he was giving him some feedback and saying, "Hey man, I just want to tell you that I think that's a little bit dangerous." And I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what he said, but basically, you shouldn't be riding in the center of the lane. You should be, in, I guess on the side of the lanes. And it really just made me think about lane position and how I ride. And some of it is intentional, and some of it I think is just ingrained in me, and just I kind of just do kind of off of muscle memory, in terms of where I want to be in the lane when I think about lane position. For me, I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. I think that I guess I generally agree with the guy in that, more often than not, I don't usually ride in the center of the lane, but I actually do ride in the center of the lane occasionally, and I do so because I think there's a real good reason to do so. There are times where it just feels safer to be in the middle compared to on one of the sides. So if I think about lane position, if you think about maybe position 1 being on the left side, position 2 being in the middle, and position 3 being on the right side, I just think it depends, man. I mean, for me, it really just varies based off of the scenario, based off of the situation that you're in, where you want to be, where I want to be in that lane. Like I said, there are actually times where I will go to the center of the lane, position 2, when it feels a little more safer to do so. For example, if it's raining outside, like if it's raining like pretty good outside, and I'm not talking about like a little drizzle, but I mean, if it's actually raining and I'm riding in the rain, the center, position 2, actually tends to be a drier spot compared to riding in position 1 or position 3. I mean, the water tends to collect in these little valleys over here, and I try and stay out of those valleys. Now that said, when I come up to a light though, even when it's raining, when I come up to a light, I tend to move over to position 1 or position 3, just because I don't like being in the center of the lane at a light or at a stop sign because of all this junk down here. All of this oil and all this gunk that tends to collect here in the center of the lane. In position 2, I try and stay away from that. And most of it collects at stoplights and at stop signs. When you're riding, I mean, on a big stretch of road, it actually it's not that bad. To be quite honest with you, it's not that bad. Other times where I might be in the position 2 would be if I'm on a very skinny road. Like if I'm on just a very narrow street, and I want to try and what I basically try and do, I think the philosophy that I have, I guess you could say for the most part, is I try to put as much distance as I can. I try to create as much of a safety bubble around myself as possible between myself and the cagers. I mean, that's where right now, you see, I'm in position 1 because I want this buffer right here. I want a little bit of space. I don't want to be too close to them, and I try not to hang out in blind spots too long. You can't avoid 100% blind spots altogether, but you can avoid hanging out in them too long. But if I'm on a very narrow road, sometimes, man, I mean, being in the center of the road actually gives me more space on the left and on the right than being on, one of the sides. So for example, if I'm going down like a side street, if I'm going down one of these side streets, I usually ride right down the middle. And that gives me space on the side, and if I'm coming up to intersections and things like that. And like I said, I mean, there are times where, I just make a conscious decision, or maybe it's subconscious, or unconscious, subconscious. I guess not unconscious. I guess subconsciously, I'm making a decision to move where it's going to give me the most space, the most buffer between myself and these cages. See, like now I'm going to try and get out of. Try and get out of the way, try and get out of that blind spot. I don't want to hang out in blind spots too long, Or sometimes if I'm in a blind spot, I actually will rev my engine a little bit just to hopefully let them know, alert them that I'm there, See, so right now, I'm just gonna be right here, and I'm not gonna be all the way over here. And maybe I think that the times where I sort of move into position 3 is when I want a vehicle to see me. So here's a perfect example. I don't know if I can get up over here. Let me see if I can do this here. Here's a perfect example. Like right here, I tend to be in position 3 if their car is turning this way, because I want to be a little bit further out so they can see me, and then I might move right back over here to position 1, But I mean, it's not a perfect example because no one was turning. But if someone was coming at me and turning right there, I sometimes will go out into position 3 so that they can hopefully see me, before they turn in front of me, because, intersections is where most of these accidents tend to happen. You know what I mean? So anyway, man, I freely admit I am no expert. I am not an expert. Like I said, I haven't been riding for decades. And so, I can't say that this is maybe the best technique, but it's what I certainly use. It's a technique that I use. It's just something that I subconsciously do and sometimes consciously do. But, I invite you to, if you're a rider, I invite you to give your feedback on this. What do you think? Do you guys do this? Do you guys ride like this too? Or do you have your own technique? You know what I mean? So I think it's just, I think it'd be interesting to hear the perspective of different riders because, like I said, I'm just one guy. So anyway, with that, my friends, my people, continue to ride with confidence, head up 100%. Yeah, this is SoopaBee.